Welcome. You're listening to Latin Waves with your hosts, Sylvia and Stuart Richardson. Latin Waves is more than just hot rhythms. This is a show about community, about creating a culture that is inclusive and based on fairness. Because everyone deserves dignity, respect, and has something to contribute. A new world is possible, and it all starts with us.
Tim Black is on the line. He's the host and founder of Calling It Out with Tim Black and the original The Tim Black Show. Tim has been covering politics, breaking news and culture, and social issues since 2012. Hey, Tim, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Stuart, thank you once again, my brother. Thank you for having me back. Welcome to your beautiful audience, man. And, glad to be back. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Now, in the recent U.S. election, the black vote doubled for Trump. He also garnered 45% of the Latina vote, surprising many. What happened to the sacred duty to vote blue no matter who every 4 years for these communities?
It's a great thing happened, man. We got emancipated from the Democratic Party, so to speak. we realized that hopefully, now this is hopeful thinking, right? I've been wanting this to happen just for marketing purposes, that we be able to have our vote work best for us no matter what party we go with. And to be able to have the leverage to them knowing you can't go down the street if you need to. If you need to go across the street, you can go across the street and buy from the competition. I want us to get to the point we'll be able to say as black people, we'll be able to go with another party, a third party. But I'll take this for now. But it's not all due to black people waking, I would like to say we all woke up at the same time, but I think it also has to do with Kamala Harris as being a very flawed candidate. It has to do with the trajectory of the Democratic Party, the brand itself of the Democratic Party starting to dissipate, and just the overall temperature and some of the cultural issues and the identity politics and those things that I think just Americans in general, like black people are not a monolith, right? And no other group is either. But I think American culturally, we were all kind of, a lot of us, a majority of Americans, obviously, who won the popular vote, Trump, is rejecting this type of leftward, this weirdness, this cultural hypersensitivity, this siloing of, we need to look at what affects us all, and let's deal with that first. And I think that's where America is.
Well, I worked at a public university for many years, and every once in a while they hired a new dean or senior manager. That person had to appear in front of a committee and articulate a clear vision for the department or they were taking over. Now, I didn't hear that from the Dems. The largest country in the world, what the hell was their vision, or what could we get excited about? Did I miss the vision? Where was it?
And this thing has been fumbled from the start. You bear in mind, like, we're talking about Kamala Harris, a person who I don't feel has the political IQ in order to pull this off. This would be a heavy lift for anybody, I think. I think any politician who would walk in and they say, you got 90 days, you got 3 months to pull off a campaign. And people didn't like her to going in. Like, she was one of the most underrated, unappreciated vice presidents of recent history. I can't think of anybody worse. In fact, before she started running, there was conversation about Joe Biden's picking her. It was common knowledge. People were saying, they were printing this. Corporate media was saying the worst decision Joe Biden ever made was picking Kamala Harris. That's until she ran. That's until, they worked the machinations behind the scenes to give Kamala the nomination. And then they said, we got to go with her. So now we got to make her seem like she's amazing. And people actually buy into this person who they don't know. So she had a bad table set. She had a lot of money, and she spent a lot of money. She spent more money than she had. She had $1 billion. She had $500 million going in before she even started. Biden raised $500 million.
Wow!
So she did have money, but she didn't have anything else. Okay, and you're right. She never really articulated the vision. In fact, they started to play it as if that she wouldn't have to. They wanted her to stay away from specifics. They were hoping that she could do this overarching campaign where it's just feel good, and they could hopefully run off of Trump is evil, Trump is Mussolini, Trump is Hitler, Trump is fascist argument bad. They were hoping that that would be enough. And the existential threat of Trump, their whole thing was threat to democracy. Make everything bad seem with Trump in bodies. And just be the opposite of that, and that should carry us. And let's see what we do. And it didn't work.
I have this theory. Maybe you'll agree or not. That they stabbed Bernie twice, so he couldn't get in. They chased Tulsi Gabbard out of the party. They chased RFK Jr. out of the party. I think they would rather lose than have a semi-progressive candidate. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's crazy. I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. I was looking at a picture this morning, of Trump, and he was standing with some of his cabinet picks, and it was Tulsi Gabbard, it was RFK Jr., of course, it was Donald Trump, and I was like, wow. I think even Elon Musk was in the picture, and I'm like, wow. All four of these people used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
They all were Democrats, and they've all become independents or Republicans. That's what happened. I mean, the Democratic Party is, I believe, and I've been saying this too, and I get a lot of pushback from people who have just, I feel, have not recognized what the rock is cooking yet. They don't understand yet. The Democratic Party is the more dangerous party. It's the more corrupt party. It's the more robust party to shut down movements, to quiet dissenting voices, all those things. They don't want. If you step out of line with the Democratic Party, you are toast. And you're right. Bernie should have been Trump. Bernie should have been to the Democratic Party what Trump is to the Republican Party. It's disruptor. It's destroyer. It's remaking it. But Bernie, he signed up. He caved in. He went with the establishment. He fell in line when everything came down to it. He went on. He went with the Democrats. He went and campaigned for Hillary. Then he went and campaigned for Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
So Kamala's loss, it's got a lot of textures to it, right? But I also believe some of it, I think, belongs to Bernie, because if Bernie had a robust, actual movement going on, then Kamala wouldn't have had to pretend to be nothingness, because her background, Stu, was left-wing type politics. It was progressive politics. She fashioned herself. She used the talking points of Bernie Sanders in 2019.
Right.
And then she spent the whole entire 2024 running away from that. But see, the problem is we got the internet. The problem is we have X, and we have all these ways to look at the old clips, and we can see the old Kamala right there. It's right there. Her opposite opinion or opposite view on fracking, her opposite view on war, her opposite view on immigration and border control, border patrol, and vice. The opposite. She's now taking the opposite ideology of everything she stood for just 4 years ago. We're not talking 10 years ago. She has a plane crash, and she has an epiphany. She sees God, and now she has this story. She's telling you this, and you can accept it. We're talking about just changing and saying, no, I believe this now. And no one brought it. The major portion of lefty-type, progressive-type voters, the Bernie bros, and that whole cohort, they never brought it. So she didn't have anybody, Stu. She didn't have anything. And like I said, like some of that has to do with their movement not being built up so that she could pretend, but she would have just been pretending anyway. That's the other side of it. I don't want to make it seem like she was going to be a righteous leader, a righteous bearer of the Bernie ideology, even though he isn't either. But she would have been able to use it. She would have been able to don herself in the clothing of this progressive person if there actually would have been a movement that was still existing.
No, it's a very lonely place for progressives. I remember the Bush years. I was out there. The anti-war movement was strong. And now we have all these wars. There's seems no anti-war movement. I can tell you right now, she lost in Michigan because of Dearborn. There's a lot of Arab Americans that didn't show up to vote because she hasn't said peep about what's happening over in Palestine, or it's just going on. And I'm anti-war and I'm anti-censorship. So where's their home for me, Tim? Where should I go?
We're homeless. We're houseless. Yeah, I no longer consider myself a progressive. I'm just a person who believes in certain policies, and I'm just an independent. That's how I register. That's how I That's how I move about in the world. That's how I operate. And it's from that standpoint that I provide commentary, because the progressive wing was never what I thought it was. It was what I always wanted it to aspire to be. For me, I just got soured at, leader after leader kind of caving in. I mean, Bernie, then it was, I see the same thing in AOC. It's shameful. The Republicans, not just Republicans, MAGA, which is a different animal, which is Trump's thing. They just beat the brakes off Kamala Harris and these folks with that. I mean, the swing states, Stu. How do you lose all swing states? There are people that there are those that say this is race, Stu, and I can never say race doesn't not play a part. I can never say misogyny doesn't play any part. I think no matter who you are, yes, you have to give that. But when we look at numbers this devastating, when we look at losing like this, and I don't think it's happened since the 1970, I think it was 70 of Mick McGovern or something. Like this is atrocious. I mean, this is really an indictment of not only Kamala Harris but the party itself and where they think the party is. And it's a cultural shift, I believe, to a faux nationalism, a faux America Great Again. Is like it's a reaction to people feeling like government doesn't work for them, and Trump being able to sell an idea that he will. We don't know if he will or not, but he's able to sell that. And since there's nothing better on the Democratic side of the ball, you win by default.
And here's a phrase that's driving me crazy. Maybe you've heard it. All the pundits are coming out and saying the more educated people vote Democrats. The Republicans they don't quite understand things. And let me rephrase that. The working class majority is voting Republican. Yeah.
I've heard that. It's a diss actually to people that work for a living.
I know.
It's a diss to people that make a certain amount of money. Well, really, what I think it is, this is just me anecdotally. I think it's people adhering to like corporate policy. Like the Democrats play in an area, like you work at a big company. There's a certain type of decorum you have to maintain in order to be accepted and to be allowed in. And if using your salad fork, it's to them that's all it is. That's what it appears to me. And so they fall in line with it. Back when I had a corporate job and you had to wear the tie or the suit, or you had to, have your shoes shine and wear your Oxfords. Like this is par for the course of what you had to do. But everyone, when they went home, Stu, they wore shorts or they wore sweatpants. They threw on the sneakers and they said they talked like however they wanted to talk. They didn't give a damn about a salad fork. They didn't hold their pinky out when they drank their coffee or their cocoa or whatever. And they drink a beer and they watch the game or they do whatever they do. They watch Game of Thrones or whatever they're into. And that was just, or The Wire, because I like The Wire. They watch that and that's it, But when they went to work, there they go, putting back on the monkey suit, putting back on the, the suit and tie, and remembering that, use the Queen's English. So, but that's not who America is. That's just who they have to be at that moment, and that is the Democratic Party environment. That's their philosophy, and no one likes it. No one wants to be that. Everyone wants to wear shorts and feel free, and that's sort of like what Trump gives people. That's the people keep calling him macho and chauvinistic and all these things, and I don't think that's what it is. It's just being honest, and you can be wrong and be honest, but it's like being honest and being yourself and saying how you feel. That really isn't chauvinistic. You don't have to be cruel, but of course, Trump plays. He says some things. Trump says things that he should not say, and that's true. He says things he doesn't need to say, and even his supporters, some of them will say, "I just wish you'd be quiet. Don't talk.
Yeah.
Don't talk. Just go clean up the border, and don't call anybody any names." But that's not what has gotten him the media coverage.
Right.
That under media, that's why he's offering Kamala money to pay off her debt. She's $20 million in debt after spending him 3-1. She's 20 million in debt. She's like, hey guys, let's help her raise some money to pay this debt off, because he's got most of his money. He didn't. He still has 300,000 in the bank. He didn't spend.
I just feel like it's a losing strategy to insult the working class that they don't know any better than to vote for the person of their choice. I just don't think it's a winning
Hey,
strategy. What
dude,
do
if you got a business, bro, I don't know. I like Mexican food, right? So if I had a taco, if I had a Mexican restaurant, we were selling labrazo or tacos, whatever we were selling, fish tacos. If you didn't like fish tacos, I'd understand. I don't have to tell you that something wrong with you, that you don't want fish tacos. You're like, I want some pizza, and that's what the Democrats do, and that's another reason why I got away from the progressives, because it's like they don't give you room to have a different opinion. You are demonized
hmm
if you think we need a border.
Yeah.
Like you become persona non grata. You are labeled a xenophobic because you think, like most other countries or all other countries in the Western world, that you got to sign up. You don't just get to show up and we give you $3,000 a month and a place to stay. We got homeless people sleeping right here on the street who paid into our system who don't get that. But if you say that out loud, you are now a Trump supporter. You are MAGA, which is the same thing as being a degenerate. What's the new word? They call them trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the and that was coming from the president of the United States, not a comedian. The Biden said Trump supporters are trash. The distinction, the Democrats like that both sides every issue with this, but at the end of the day, Biden has more culpability because he is the actual president of the United States. And him making that type of statement, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but that's kind of a big slip.
Yeah.
Just say that when we know how it went for Hillary when she said something similar with the degenerate
The
line, because
deplorables.
that's
Yeah.
never left her. Yeah.
It's shocking to see so many homeless people in so many cities in disrepair, and they're off there in Ukraine doing photo ops and pouring billions of dollars of U.S. tax money into all that stuff. So I get that. I get the frustration. What would it take for Tim Black and others to come back to the Democratic Party? What would they have to say and do to bring back those supporters?
Ugh. We'd have to level it. For me, we can't speak about me because I can't see a world in which I come back to the Democrats. I haven't voted Democrat since 2008, so that's not going to happen. But I voted in Cornell West this time. I voted for Dr. Jill Stein in 2016, or was it 2020? One of those. And 2016. And I just can't see it happening. Now, for some other people, I don't know. Like I think they're more open to it, maybe, just because the kind of way the ball kind of bounces.
What vision do they
Politics.
what vision do they need to see? Do you think that would get them excited?
I think the day of saying we have a person of color or a black person running, I don't think that's enough anymore. And I'm glad, because all people need to accept that all people can be sold out by people of all colors. It's something that white Americans already knew, and I'm sure white Canadians already know, that just because somebody's a white Canadian doesn't mean they're not corrupt. It doesn't mean they got your back. And it's just that black people coming from a subculture of blackness and culturally, historically in the United States have had to stick together in order to survive. We falsely believe that all of us have this mentality, but there's also the mentality of people wanting to fit into the larger group. And when you're in Rome, you do as Romans do. And that's what some of us have done. So I don't think the future, they say the future is woman. They say these weird things. No, the future would be policies policies that we agree with, policies that get money in people's pockets, that provide upliftment, that give people hope that there can be America that actually is prosperous, and that they can get a piece of that, not for the Wall Streets, not for the corporations, but for Main Street and for people across your street. That's what you need, but you need that embodied in a person who's believable, charismatic, that can talk. Hey, man, not everybody can be president, Stu. It's okay not to be president. Whatever happened to, you got the party of participation trophies. They think anybody can go and become president just because they're a nice person.
Yeah.
Stu, look, Kamala Harris was an attorney general. That's an amazing job. You could have stopped there. She was a senator. That was an amazing job. She went on to become a vice president, Stu. How many vice presidents had there been? Here's a hint: 47. There's only 46.
Yeah.
Because it's only been so. These are amazing. Why do you believe? I believe no one is entitled to be president, Stu, because there's so many forces out of your control. No one earns it. No one deserves it. People are talking crazy talk, like she deserves it. She's qualified. There is no qualification for this. No one's qualified to be that. We have 130 bases in 70 different countries. No one's qualified to try to run this thing called the American Empire. It's overstepping its boundaries in all these countries and meddling in all these countries. That's first of all. But second of all, there's no litmus test. There is no criteria. It's a rare thing that I believe should never happen, right? I don't think anybody should be in that position. But, okay, if you are in that position, that is lucking and drawing a bunch of other things, lining up and greasing the right pockets and going with the right whatever, and people believe it. But believe this, you have to be able to answer questions. You should be able to articulate yourself. You have to have some charisma. You should be able to stand on your square and make people feel comfortable, and you have to be likable. There's a lot of things, and they used to say for a man, you'd have to be the type of man that men want to be, other men want to be, and women want to be with. Yeah. That used to be the rule. We all kind of accepted. Not all of us were leading man material, but we could be great number twos. We could be funny guy, interesting guy, the nerd that's smart as hell, that behind the scenes, like guys have always accepted there were these levels, but with this Democrat, I know this is not answering your question directly, but it's like these people, they live in fantasy land, Stu, and that will not give the Democrats the next win. We're not going back. They've got one thing right, Stu, when they said we're not going back. Well, you know what? America's not going back to buying that. They're not being able to browbeat Americans into doing the right thing. When the right thing is just what's right for them, and it's not what's right for the rest of us.
For many, many decades, as you know, these candidates were carefully groomed and put in front of carefully controlled media, mainstream media interviews, very scripted. Now we have candidates going on 2 and 3 hour podcasts, and I think the next Democratic candidate has to be someone who can hold their own for 2.5 hours in a room with someone, because that's what's reaching young people.
Yeah.
They should be able to come on your show and answer some questions.
Yeah. It changed. It's become, that was, sort of like we opened with that. It's like we live in a different world now. Like we have tape, we have videos, and on demand, people can read up on you and watch videos of you. This is what needs to happen. And look, Stu, Kamala Harris had every opportunity to be a part of that. She was vice president. She had a bully pulpit. She had a platform. People forget she was still, if not the most powerful woman in America, she's top 3. Top 3 people, most powerful people in America. It still is. She's still the sitting vice president. She could have started a radio station. She could have started her own cable network. She could have did a podcast every week or every couple of weeks. She could have opened the same dialogue with the people, but they got over their skis. They felt they didn't need to get down in the dirt with the common folk, the poors.
Yeah.
And Trump made them pay for it. And going forward, Stu, to your point, bro, I believe that's going to be called. It's going to be the way things are done. This is going to be the new formula. You must be a part of the media machine. You must generate your own media. You must be approachable. You must be accessible. You must be open. Of course, there's still going to be some polish, and you're going to have people that try to craft your image. But you're going to have to balance that with being out there with the people.
You have to be real, and you have to be authentic, and not this polished thing that gets up and cheers about America and says nothing. I had to turn off the Democratic convention. It was like, what are you talking about? Apple pie and cheering and crying and like what policies are being proposed? Like, just say, hey, we're gonna give you Medicare. Every American's gonna have coverage or something. Something to get excited about.
Yeah.
Anything at all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Stu. I'm not going to say that Trump is real because I don't know him, but at least appear real. Like no one really knows. Like maybe it's a side of him, right? And we all have different sides. There's loud Tim Black. There's more introspective Tim Black, and I'm different when I'm with my 2-year-old granddaughter Nadia. I'm popping. It's different, than when I'm chilling with my friends or if I'm watching a movie with my wife. But being authentic in being this person when you're running for office. Be authentic in your points of view and your stances. And look, I think Kamala would have did better. I'm not going to say she would have won, Stu, but if she at least would have, people may not have agreed with some of her stances, but they know what they were.
Coming to the end now. I gotta. Sorry, I wish I could keep talking, but how can people access your show? Because you have daily commentary, and it's very important. How can people get in touch with you?
TimBlackTV.com. You go to my website, you'll find me. It's Real Tim Black on all social media, and look for the bald, loud black guy. You'll find me. And thank you once again, Stu, for the opportunity, bro.
Hey, man.
Good to see you.
Good. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Latin Waves. Latin Waves is an independently produced syndicated radio program made available for free to